All right, all right, all right. Shalom, shalom, Sister Deborah, prophetess in the wilderness. And you know what? That's all right with me. Coming again on this Deborah platform with another message. And I will say this is a lovely afternoon in which the Most High, Ahia has made. And I, Sister Deborah, shall and I will rest therein. I'm coming again for part 2 of slamming the door on polygamy forever. And I want to let you all know that where I am coming from is a place that you just can't get to. Where I am coming from is a place that you can't go. You can't debate the place. Wait a minute, let me move this. Something was on there. You can't debate and rebuke or climb on top of what Sister Deborah is saying. Because, like I said to you all before, you can never debate righteous. Righteous don't need to be debated. Righteous don't need someone on its side or on its left and its right or pay someone to support what the flesh of man wants to believe. Righteous speaks, stand on it firm. It's the anchor. You see? So therefore, righteous don't need to be justified, clarified, or identified that it's righteous. Yeah, righteous stands alone. And it stands taller than anything on the face of the earth. So therefore, we can go around here and we can orchestrate ways and get people to believe money is going to show who's who and what's what. Money is going to show and reveal. Money is going to keep people from coming forward. Money is going to do this and money is going to do that. That's the work of Satan. The work of Satan. That's the trait of this here oppressive land. The wickedness at its highest. When one think that a higher can be paid for. You know? A higher is worth putting money up for to defend what is righteous. Righteous don't need you. It don't need your money. It don't need you at all. It stands alone. For it is spirit and truth. It is the light of the Father. It walks straight into darkness and call darkness what it is. Because it is the light that has been sent down to represent the light of the Most High, a higher. So therefore, I'm coming to you with a part 2 of slamming the door on polygamy. And I need you to also be invested into what Sister Deborah is saying. And I want to also say this here to you. This message, part 1 and part 2, can be taken and taught and heard by millions. Okay. But I want to say to you, this message is a message that's a blessing to the spirit of those who walks in light. To the spirit of those who are spirit and truth. This message is a blessing to you. So therefore, it is kind that if there's righteous in you, the light rests there in you, then therefore, Sister Deborah has a GoFundMe. You should be able to, without a doubt, to bless Deborah for bringing forth this spirit and truth in such a midnight hour in which we are in, because it comes with what Ahia has invested in me, and for me to put it forward to the righteous ones take on a righteous decision of doing that which is righteous toward those who are speaking their Father's righteousness on the earth. We are not the ones that people really invest in. Okay. And it's okay because we're getting treasures in the heavens. So with the treasure on the earth or without it, it doesn't matter. When we speak righteous, we speak truth, we speak in the light, and we speak spirit and truth, guess what? It too is going to be rewarded. Whether the flesh of man who say that they are of the light, say that they are of spirit and truth, will take on this information that's really truly will bless many out there who turmoiled and who have fought a fight of defending polygamy and seeing a different standpoint or the different view of it. There are people who agree with it without having spirit and truth. There are people that say, oh, it says that, and I ain't got nothing else to say. It says it. It doesn't make it a sin. Use a lie from the pit of hell. And because you don't know spirit and truth, you can speak those things. You can say those things when you don't know spirit and truth, and you are not the light. See, the light shine on darkness, and the darkness is being performed in the flesh of men and women, male and female. That's where darkness hide. That's where unrighteous hide. Unjust, sin, iniquity. Where do you think it hides? You think it is in the air? You think it is in the sun, the moon, the stars? Where is iniquity? Where is sin? Where would one say it resides? In the flesh of man. The same place man hides their desires, their lusts, their pleasures, their ways, their spiritual wisdom. Not their spiritual wisdom. Let me correct that. Their fleshly wisdom, their fleshly knowledge, and their fleshly understanding. Their emotions in their flesh, their feelings in their flesh, their personal opinion in their flesh is all upheld in their flesh. And what else is upheld? Polygamy in their flesh. Well, all these other things are upheld in the flesh. So where do polygamy lies? Dead in the eyes of Yah. It is dead in the eyes of Yah, and man wants to make it living on the earth because that's their pleasures. When they got out of the order of my father in Genesis, they have performed it ever since then. I'm going to set an example. If you all go to Lot, the book of Lot, wasn't that in the beginning? Look here. Y'all, that beginning tells the story, y'all. And just because it was there, would one say that it's righteous today? Because Ahiah destroyed the whole city? Now, when Ahiah destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding cities, wasn't there children in there? Wasn't there women and girls? Babies? But did the Father destroy some of it and kept them out? No, he destroyed all of it. They are a product of their men and the way they conduct themselves in their flesh and in their spirit. Their children are the product of who they are. They're women that detach themselves to the man's sinful flesh wasn't worth allowing to live because they were embedded in the wrongdoing of the men. They kept quiet and silent to where the men was training their sons up in this homosexual lifestyle. At the door of Lot, it says young men and young men. It's letting you know the boys were there. Young and old males. It never said the woman and the daughters. But the women have kept quiet for so long to where it becomes today that they are nothing but slaves under the feet of man, which never was the will of the Father from the creation. And that's why Yeshua came on the scene to fulfill truth. Because man has manipulated you all with lies. And you took on the lie. And that's why in the new, ain't no such thing as new, but when Yeshua came on the scene, all that mess that they did back in the days is off. Yeshua come to fulfill and to wipe away all the sin and to fulfill the things that need be, that falls under righteousness, and showed us how to walk therein. You will never see a man on this earth today desiring, feeling, and walking behind Yeshua HaMashiach. You won't see him. They don't want to walk and mimic Yeshua HaMashiach. They want to go where sin and lust is and follow those who was in sin and in their ways. They want to go and look at them in the book and follow that. Now, they ain't going to follow their ways of pleasing Yah. They're going to follow their flesh ways, having many wives. And it ain't their fault. Their father, who never followed Yah, started it. And see, that's what a lot of people don't understand. It wasn't that David saw and did something that he didn't see his father and them doing. that didn't follow y'all. You get what I'm saying? So we can't count them out, because the reason why I can't count them out is they my spiritual bloodline. You can count them out because they're not your spiritual bloodline. See, they are my spiritual bloodline. They're not your spiritual bloodline, but they're my spiritual bloodline. Because I'm under righteous belief, faith, and fear. I'm branded with that. They were branded with that. You see? But Deborah never would claim to you that I'm holy than thou. I'm perfect. No, I will not. I'm perfect in one thing. Understanding the perfect will of my Father. That's where I'm perfect. But as in my flesh, I will never tell you I'm perfect in that. And that's where they messed up from the front floor. They're trying to lead congregations and groups of men to believe righteous rests within them. And Ahiah told them, your flesh is your worst enemy. I know I'm coming back there, but I'm finna, this is part 2, and I want to go back to Genesis chapter 6, because the Father want me to cover this in its fullness, okay? Because he's shutting the door on it. Anybody that from this day on that's walking in spirit and in truth and in the light, if you ever in your mouth open it up and say that it is righteous, polygamy, it's okay, it's acceptable, it's nothing wrong with it, then you do not have the light within you. Okay? You're not speaking spirit and truth. Because what the Father is doing today, he's knocking every door down. And he's slamming the door on something that never been slammed before. On a lifestyle that man chose outside of the perfect will of the Father. He put woman under his feet, and Ahiah never told him that. He even told him, I didn't tell you to go get a group of men. I didn't tell you to go get a congregation of men to rule. That's not what he said. He said that woman going to be beside you, and y'all going to work this thing as them. And if you go around here and making it about him, then you out of the order again. From where the perfect will was created for them, male and female. See, this shows you how they messed up from the floor. Because that's why they don't want you to go to Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2, because they don't know nothing about the perfect will. That's why they didn't know the right hand of the Father was his power, which the world called Christ, which is also the Hamashiach that came down with Yeshua in all power. And was present at the beginning and created all things. They never knew. And here we are in the year 2023. That's how lost without a cause our men are. I believe they've taken them so far, so many men so far out, to where man cannot find his way. It's so far out in the ocean, they can't see the light. They can't see the time of day. They can't see any land. That's how far the spirits and the flesh of man has gone out into the ocean, to where they cannot go back to Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2 and see spirit and truth and see the perfect will of the Father from the beginning. They can't go back to Deuteronomy 28 and see the end game of the curse. They can't go back to Isaiah chapter 3 and verse 25 to see what Ahiah really is saying. Even when he says 7 women to 1 man. They can't see that's a sign telling you right there what happened during this time you were purging the daughters of Zion. You wasn't killing them, Father. You was purging them so that they could be holy. Like unto that one man that they saw that survived. They knew that he had to be holy. And that's the name they wanted to be named after. And the Father let them know, but I'm going to purge you with burning. But before I purge you, I'm going to purge you. And during the time I'm going to purge you, Isaiah chapter 3 and verse 25, I'm going to destroy thy men, thy brothers, thy fathers, thy husbands, thy uncles, thy mighty men. I'm going to destroy them in the war. So even the purging has to do would also holy. He was purging them so that he can labor them to be holy. Cleaning these women up. And you then took these women and put them under a sexual desire as you did in Genesis. You put them under your feet. Here it is in Isaiah chapter 3. He's breaking it down so the men understand you have messed up from the floor up. He's told you that you have fallen. Isaiah chapter 3. He told you that you have fallen. You have trapped under this homosexual lifestyle. You have fallen. This is Isaiah chapter 3. He didn't destroy the women. That's why there's 7 women to 1 man. And you see how the men talk to men? Oh, you're going to have 7 wives to 1. No. That's not what he's talking about. The women is going to be so glad to see a man. They're going to know this have to be a holy man of the most high or higher if a higher allowed him to make it out. Because a higher told the women, I'm going to destroy your husband, your father, your brother, your uncle, your cousin, every male. I'm going to destroy of yours, even your sons. So the women had been crying and going to cry regarding this. So when they see a man alive, they're going to know this is a man of Yah. I want what he has. I want to be called what he is called, holy. But you see how the nasty flesh of a man will teach these men that this is saying that they shall have 7 wives to 1 man. What name of a man can take away a woman's reapproach? Think, y'all. Think. You see how sick they didn't went? So I'm showing you even in the book how you can go all outside of your flesh. See, what people didn't know, your flesh has wisdom, your flesh has knowledge, your flesh has understanding. Your flesh has emotions, your flesh has feelings, your flesh has personal opinion. Okay? All of these things are wicked and evil. And it keeps your flesh from seeing spirit and truth. Because it wants to see what it wants to see. It want to believe what it wants to believe. It want to teach what it wants to teach. It don't want to fall and bow down to the true teacher, the Holy Spirit. It don't want to hear the voice of the Holy Spirit because it's telling them things that it don't like. Okay, let's go to Genesis chapter 6. The Father want me to say in this part 2 is where I left off. He wants you to understand in Genesis chapter 1, chapter 6, the reason why he ended the world is because of what you see today. He told you, Yeshua said in the end days, this is what it's going to be like the days of Noah. All the way up until he come. They're going to be doing these things. They already started it. So you see, we already in hundreds of years doing this. Man has done these things for a long time. That's why we're in the last hour of a highest time for us. And we're running up on the minutes and thinking we got time to build our heavens on earth. To trust people, tell people to give funds to build up on their treasures on the earth and not take care of the homeless, the less fortunate, the widows, the fatherless, all the things that needed a man, a higher told you he charged you to take care of. And what did the men do? We ain't going to do it, just like in Genesis. When Adam sinned and Eve. We ain't going to follow a highest way. We're going to follow our flesh way. And we're going to call our flesh way the right way. We're going to call the things we do in our flesh righteousness, just, upright. And it's all okay in the eyes of Yah because he didn't tell us not to. And he didn't say we couldn't. He don't have to answer to you. He is the beginning to the end and everything in between. And ain't nothing has to answer to your flesh. That's a mess up from the floor up. This is where he said that which is crooked, Deborah, cannot be made straight. That means no matter what you say on this platform, Deborah, if they already crooked spirits, they not going to be made straight. That means you can't talk nothing to their flesh. That which is in the man's flesh eyes, that which is in a man's flesh eyes, that which is in the man's flesh eyes is clean in his own eyes. That means it's clean in his fleshly eyes. The eyes is the light to the whole body. And if the eyes is caught up in flesh, it sees darkness. Because the eye is the flesh, is the eye is the light, and that eye is spiritual. So the eyes is the flesh of man. Proverbs 16 and verse 2. In a man, eyes, which is his flesh eyes, is clean in pretty much all his ways. And that's what these men teaches you all. They teaches this man that you all good. You a ruler. You a king. You a leader. Submit her under your feet. Tell her to stand down. Tell her to keep quiet. Do that, do that, do that. Genesis said, I'm going to bust you wide open. Yeshua comes to speak. In the beginning, that was never so. So the way that man has took on has been out of the loud-mouthed flesh of a man and made it just in the eyes of many weak men. Our weakest men are the men that follow the flesh of a man. The weakest of the tribe of Judah is the men that follows the flesh of a man. Because they follow the flesh of a man's ways, his understanding, his knowledge, his emotions, his feelings, his opinion, and have no ways of their own that follow the Most High or higher. They think to get to a higher, we must follow the flesh of this man. Not understanding, he says, seek ye me first. Hallelujah. Seek the kingdom of Ahoyah first. But they desire not. Because they think the only way they can seek a higher is to the desires in which one been taught by man to run after him, grab all that he can offer us in the flesh. We get content. We get set in the flesh ways, the flesh desires, the flesh will, the flesh control, and then we'll come after y'all after that. Can't be. That which is of the flesh is of the flesh. That which is of the spirit is of the spirit. That means when you seek ye the kingdom first, the kingdom will usher you his spirit. And that spirit will lead you, guide you, usher the light in you so you may find your way in darkness. The Father will never cause a man to leave his children. The Father will never cause a man to leave his wife. Because if we seek ye the kingdom of the Father first, and not the flesh of a man, if we seek ye the kingdom of Yah first and not the flesh of a man, the Father will show us our way. He will cause a woman to bow in a way first with her spirit, recognizing that she have first herself desire the will of the Father. She will humble herself and bow down to the will of the Father. After the man have seek ye the kingdom of Yah. Oh no, men don't want to do that. I got to go way over here, get this man all my money and do what he tell me to do. He's the way. He's the truth. He's the light. The Father ain't got nothing to do with you after that. He ain't got nothing to do with you. He ain't got nothing to do with you. He's going to make that individual be all your light. He's going to let that individual be all that you desire. He's going to let that individual be all that you want. He's going to let you put this individual on a pedestal. He's going to let you think that this man is your God. That's your idol. That's your idol God. And you have idoled this individual to the point where you ain't going to see the light. You ain't going to speak spirit and truth out of your ugly mouth. Your mouth even rumble like the loudmouth men's. It's no spirit and truth in it. That's why it's loud and it rumbles. It has no spirit and truth. Men get onto these devil platforms, be talking, ain't got no spirit and truth in them. I now, not today, but through in the last 3 or 4 years, understand why the broad gate is so broad. And let me tell y'all something. There's plenty of room left for you. Plenty of room. See, the gate that's narrow is a place that you got to find. And everybody ain't going to find it. He already said it. Very few. Why? Because it ain't meant for you to find it. Your heart and your mind is stuck on stupid because it's stuck on the flesh of a man and not the spirit of the Most High Yah. Ooh, Father Yah, if they only knew who you were. Thank you for being all that you have been. I love you for that. Okay, in Genesis chapter 6, he wants you to know you have lied on him again, just as you did with Deuteronomy 28. I sit back and here it is. We in the midnight hour, the last hour running in the minutes. That's how late of a time period we're in. And we're walking around here like we got so much time. So we're going to build, and we're going to get. We're going to have. We're going to defend ourselves. We're going to fight this here if we have to. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. Those are people who built their heavens on the earth and have not trust in spirit and truth, have not trust in the light. So don't think that Ahai ain't going to let them have their way. He's going to move out the way and let them build up whatever Satan is able to build up in their hearts first, in their mind second, and in their flesh. Let them get all that they want. Because I told them, Deborah, your worstest enemy is yourself. Nobody but yourself is first your worstest enemy. And if you ain't got self together with me, then you still your worstest enemy. Because I'm not coming to abide in your flesh. And you done took everything that I've created out of the perfect will and made it your will and your way. I don't have no problem with that. I knew that, the Father said, before the foundation of the world. That's why I orchestrated the beginning to the end. How you like them now? See, you men thinking they overriding Yah. They think they got more knowledge and wisdom than Yah. How you want me to tell you? I the one created the beginning to the end and everything in between. What have you done lately? How do you like him now? So all this other stuff that they orchestrating in these minds of these men and manipulating their minds and destroying them from that end is because the men desire the idol God. And Ahai suffered them to get that idol God, which is the flesh of a man. And an ugly man at that. A loudmouth man at that. And these men cannot see the error of sin within another man. And that's in the camps, the churches, the academies. All these men on this devil platform, it's a crying shame that none of the men can see the unrighteous in these men. That means you are walking in darkness. And this is why this place is called a devil platform. Okay. Now, the Father wants me to know that just as Deuteronomy 28 end game, you all missed it. And he says, it's okay for you to miss it because you're caught up in stupid, which is your flesh. And you only believe what your flesh is willing to accept. No light is there before you, he says. No light is there before you so you can see. No righteous. That's why. And I used to say, Father, why is these people on this platform ain't speaking spirit and truth? You get every now and then somebody might speak something, but the Father say, Deborah, they too far from it. They've gone out in the ocean and drowning and think they on high and don't understand. They can't see no dry land, which is spirit and truth. They can't see no light, which is the spirit and truth, which is the Holy Spirit. They can't see nothing, but they call themselves in righteousness because they on their flesh time. So Ahai wants me to let you know you on flesh time, baby. You ain't on nothing spirit and truth. You ain't in no light. You on flesh time. And since you wanted your idol God a man, he gave you your idol God a man. That's why you were able to leave your wives and your children behind. Not understanding they're going to be considered your talents when you stand before glory. To remind you of how far from him you have taken yourself. He gave you those, not woman. So how is it a man can leave what Ahai gave them and listen to a loudmouth, ugly man tell them to leave your talents behind to come get this one here because it's a virgin. And after you then caved into that one, now it's no longer a virgin. And when you get tired of that one, you're going to do like they have been doing throughout the biblical time. Leave it and want another one. See, Ahai knows the trick of the trade. He's the one that said, I'm the beginning to the end and everything in between. Deborah, everything they doing, I already knew. Heavens has already seen it. Matter of fact, heavens has suffered it to be as it was in the heavens, like it is on the earth. Praise the mighty Yah. That's why we can't sit here and make him like unto a man. And that's what these men are doing. they're making themselves equal to the creator. You can't do that. Bro, give or take, if the creator 100, you half of one. That's how far down you are. You're not even 1%. The Father wants me to let you know in Genesis chapter 6 and verse 1 through 5, he wants you to know that it's what it is today. What you're seeing today, sex trafficking, all of the sex in the streets, fornication, adultery, porno, sexual desire, sexual impression, sexual everything. It all had to do with sex. And that's what he wants you to look at in Genesis chapter 6, verse 1 through 5. That's why every thoughts of their imagination was what? Continual, evil, and wicked. So when you want to make it look like it was pretty, because you all don't know what's going on in Genesis 6 and what made a creator in it all. Come on now. This is what made him decide to just cancel it out and restart it. It's because, and he didn't see nothing on the earth, because all the imagination of the men was continued, even wicked, just as he destroys Solomon and Gomorrah. Even though those women weren't a part of it, but they went along with it. They began to not see anything wrong with what they men were doing and how they men were conducting themselves. The great thing about today is the Father allowed those that are in him and he in them to be separate from this nonsense. If it was so, it will fool the very elect. And minds that I have elect shall not be fooled by these men and silly women. Okay? Now, he said in Genesis, you lied. You lied about the fallen angels. You lied about the giants. And like I say, I had to take my daughter and have her tell me to break down 4, because I was seeing this. Not only did I see it in the natural, but in my mind, this is what I was battling. How is it that you can key up Googles from one end to the other and they all lying? Father, how can that be? He said, because, Deborah, there's no light in them. There's no righteous in them. People will think because they're pulling up on Google and this saying this saying, those are human beings, flesh of evil, speaking these things. You cannot take them at face value. I'm your teacher. You're taught from the wilderness. Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Because your lane has been orchestrated by me. And it's the only way you're going to be able to walk in the light and in spirit and truth. Stay in your lane. Okay, so in Genesis, I like what he was saying, because in Genesis chapter 1, it says, and it came to pass when the men, M-E-N, Ahia showing you again where the men is involved in this. What you didn't know is the men were wicked. The men were evil. They were loaded with iniquity. In Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 6, verse 1. And 99 trillion will lie and make the men escape this here. But I, as a prophetess, not a dead one, but a living one, here to tell you and shine light on this darkness. It was so much wickedness going on with these men, birthing daughters and selling them off, even as a young child, to other men. To the point where those who was mission to do the will of Yah couldn't contain the fact of what they saw men doing and how beautiful these daughters were that were being born unto these men. They behold what the men were doing, selling these women off, these females off, these daughters off. Most of them, the Father said, wasn't even up to age. But the desire of when the sons of men saw what the daughters of men were doing, the daughters that was of their fathers were doing with their daughters, they decided, is it that easy? We're going to pay and get as many as we please and do as we please. And that's what they did. Sex trafficking. All kind of sexual perverted That's what was going on, you guys. And you all missed it. You missed it because you never walked in light. You missed it because you never knew spirit and truth. You missed it because you walked in the darkness of the flesh of a man, in his wisdom, his knowledge, and his understanding. You can't even see what took place because in your mind and in your spirit, you should have said this. Wait a minute, Father, sometime in your life, you should have said, what made you really destroy the world? Like me, I thirst for truth, y'all. I thirst for truth. And I don't thirst for truth in the flesh. I thirst for it in the spiritual realm because I know in the spiritual realm, it's going to shine the light on the things in the flesh that has been hidden. That which was in the dark shall come to light in the last days. So that's why I need light. And I have it. And I speak spirit and truth. Because there's too much darkness to stand over on the darkness side and think I'm going to get the fullness of what I thirst for on the side of the darkness. No, you won't. You won't get none. So here in Genesis chapter 6, verse 1, he's explaining to me that the men were doing something that's off the chain, that heavens had said, hey, I'm finna end this now. No, I can't take this. I can't take this. And then he began to, and you notice with Noah, did you see Noah? He had all that work to do. You notice he had to get every two of animals. He had to build that ark. But did you see that Ahiah gave him wives to help him? Do you see that? Where's his wives? Why didn't he have more than one wives? Because Ahiah found him to be righteous. Because he was righteous in Ahiah before he got there. And he had one woman, which is his wife and their children. You see that? He didn't have his sons and their wives. They had each a wife. Do you see that? So what happened that Noah had all that to take care of to prepare for the end, and he only had one wife. No other wives to help him. So you go back to Genesis chapter 6 and verse 1 and 5. It takes you right back to a time period that Ahiah was displeased, that made him destroy the ground all the way up, everything on the earth. Now, what could have led the creator of all things to do that? Now one of you have the heart nor the desire to thirst for the truth of the matter of that. But I thank the Father because in the wilderness, I'm taught by the Spirit. And it teaches me these things. Because I asked some crazy questions and he told me, look, can't no man answer that. Let me tell you what it is. You know, because I do. I ask some questions nobody can answer. Because I desire spirit and truth, the righteousness. I thirst for that. Okay. And the Father loved that those that thirst for it. That's why do you think these men can't take the place of the righteous will of the Father? What is the righteous? He told him to take care of the orphanage, the fatherless, and the widows. What's the deal with those? They don't have a male. The Father knows that these men don't have the heart to do that because man has got in the midst of other men and going to build their own sanctuary the way they want to. They're not going to be out there helping the homeless, the fatherless, the hungry, going into the prisons, going into the hospitals, ministering and doing the will of the Father. You know why? They are building their own heaven on the earth and making men think they got it made from A to Z. And they ain't doing no will of the Father. See, y'all, it's deeper than what y'all can think. Okay, so in Genesis chapter 6, it's showing you, verse 1 is showing you that men on the earth was doing something they ain't have no business doing. Okay. And that the sons of Yah saw with the daughters of men that they were fair. And this is verse 2. And that they took them wives, all which they chose. Now, what father would want to sell off their daughters like that? A wicked-minded man that's about this here, that dollar. and selling off their babies. They didn't care if their babies was up to age to be selling them off to this man. They had broken the perfect will of Yah already. So that's what the Father was saying. When that sin hit, anything goes. So because you seen David murdering and lusting and committing adultery, ain't nothing new to him. When that sin hit, anything goes, said the Most High or higher. But I sealed mine before the foundation of the world. Who are you serving? Who are you serving? See, that's what they didn't understand. They thought that they can prove to you that polygamy is just and righteous in the eyes of Yah. It is all unrighteous because it's due to the flesh. Anything that is not spirit and is pleases the flesh of man, it fall under the sin itself and not under righteousness. You get what I'm saying? And it all has a consequence. That anything you bring forth out of it, it ain't gonna be worth ain't gonna be worth a dime. Why do you think the 12 tribes ain't worth a dime to the Father? Because of all the things they've done since the beginning of time. The 12 tribes ain't never done right by God. Never. But they Jacob's children. See how sick people are to believe? But don't think in Jacob was the seed of righteous belief, faith, and fear. And out of Jacob's are still some seeds, because I'm one of them. I'm one of them. You see the difference? I'm one of them. That 144 is. We are one of them. But if you wanted to do it in percent, that's probably 1 or 0.5% out of all of the tribe of Judah here on the face of the earth and all the other tribes. That's how small the remnant is. And we thinking it's a lot. And it's not. It's a lot to our mental state of mind. But spiritually, it's under 1%. You see? And I thank the Father from having the things like this. What I really thank him for is before the foundation of the world, he knew A to Z. He knew his will. He knew his honor and his dishonor. He knew that which was following Satan and which wasn't. That's why he didn't just have the tree of life and other trees there. He said, let me put the tree of knowledge of good and evil so that the one I'm about to put down, they're going to take of that one. So I might as well put theirs down here so they can go and take what they're going to take from, because heavens already know where they're going. Praise the mighty Yah. So when you run around here thinking a man know your destiny, use a fool, and use a fool. A man don't know your destiny. He can't be a God to you. He can't be light to you, because his own flesh is his worst enemy. So what enemy is he going to be to you? That's why it's important to seek ye the kingdom first. Seek a higher first. And let him add on to what you should be able to see and give you the sight to see and the ear to hear. Let the Father, let his ruach come in you. Shut your ugly mouth and tarry for it. No, you don't want to do that. You want an idle man to lead and guide you. And that's what you got. And I like to have the Father let it say just like that. It was broken in the beginning. So all of Genesis chapter 6 has been a lie. All of it, Genesis chapter 6, Genesis chapter 6 from 1 to 5, the lies of how it was taught has been a lie. The giants was just letting you know that they were present in the earth during this time. And after that time, okay, he's just saying that there were giants in the earth those days. That was before the daughters of man and the sons of Yah went into each other. He's just letting you know what was present during these days. He said there were giants in the earth those days. And after those days, there were giants. So the giants does not, Father say, represent fallen angels. I know it. You go straight from Google A to Z, and all these people in between has taken all kind of books and even this book and mastered that the giants are fallen angels. When who are you? That's something to think about, ain't it? If the giants are the fallen angels, who are you? Look like you locked under 100% sin, wicked and evil, iniquity than the giants. But who are you if the giants are the fallen angels? Y'all need to wake up, the Father says. No, he ain't saying y'all wake up. That's my way of saying it. But he's saying that you all have never waken up to nothing spirit and truth. Sister Deborah saying you need to wake up, but I know you're not going to because the Father already sealed me in that. So that has been a lie, because it went on and telling you when they were present during that time. And then it says, and after that time, they were always present. But they went to telling you when the sons of Yah bare children from the daughters of men, they became like unto the ways of the giants. Renowned, mighty, okay, which of old. He's just letting you know this is what happened when you go into the sons of man and the daughters of men. What's with that? The sons of Yah and the daughters of man. The daughters of man is pure deed, wicked and evil. Their daughters has their spirit. That's pure deed, wicked and evil. They even use their daughters to conduct wicked and evil, to convince the sons of Yah to take on their daughters in what they were portraying. And that's what he was saying. And they became mighty. Okay? And they became renowned and mighty men. Notice men. They weren't talking about the women. Which they're of old, men of renown. A lot of people want you to think that giants went into the daughters of men. They didn't need the fallen angels to go into the daughters of man. The daughters of man was already wicked and evil. You got to go back up to verse 1. It's telling you the story. And it ain't telling you the story about giants. Then you go to verse 2. It ain't telling you the story about a giant. You go to verse 3. It ain't telling you the story about giants. In going to verse 4, it's just letting you know giants was present. And when the daughters of man, which was wicked and evil, went into the sons of Yah, the sons of Yah went into the daughters of man, they produced these mighty men, which makes sense. Okay? It ain't telling you they became like the giants went into the daughters. Y'all sick because man has made you sick. Google and everybody that's on Google on the internet would all say that these were fallen angels and the giants went into the dark. Y'all need to stop all that. The Father said y'all been lost without a cause since what? Yeshua said it. Yeshua came on the scene and said the same thing. From the beginning, that was not so. So what y'all doing today, the Father's going to let you do it. He's going to let y'all interpret Genesis chapter 6 the way that you want to. Then he bring Yeshua again on Genesis chapter 6 and say it's going to be like the days of Noah, which is Genesis chapter 6. What are you saying, Yeshua? Deborah, it's going to be like that day. They're going to be building like the days of Lot, planting like the days of Lot, marrying and giving in marriage like the days of Lot. Like unto the days of Noah, Deborah. What's this thing about marriage and giving in marriage? Because this is where men were selling their daughters off. Sex slaves. Young girls and babies were being treated by these men. And when the sons of Yah saw that and behold it, they decided to take as many as they pleased because they saw what the wicked and evil of man was doing. That's how far from the beginning man has stepped. That's how low they have stepped. Look at where we at today. It has no bearing on what took place in Genesis 1 and 2. Has no order, none whatsoever. Just like he said, Satan has come to deceive the whole world. He has done an excellent job. And I thank the Father because his word said it and I believed it. Okay, so the Father wants you to know that all of that, you have to go back to Genesis chapter 6, 1 to 5, and you'll see all the lies that was told. But you got to see the evil and wicked of men and how they were slinging their daughters, just like they're doing today, sex trafficking. Giving in marriage. Giving in marriage meaning They're selling off their daughters, giving off their daughters in marriage. They're men having men. Everything, all this sex perverted. Let me show you something that was given to me. It says selling off. This is how selling off. Like when you're selling something off, listen to this. Sexual immorality is the selling off of sex, purity, and involving any type of sexual impression outside the boundaries of the biblical defined marriage relationship. What is the biblical define? The perfect will of the Father. Man find a wife and they become one. It is not women's and wives. That's when flesh take on the outer order of Yah. It's no way. And I don't care. David, Moses, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were sinless. Were sinful men. And just because you went into the book and took their sin and brought it forth and made it righteous amongst other men, don't mean you're going to okay that. He's not. It's going to be treated as he saw it. Abomination, fornication, adultery, lust, and everything else. So you can make it whatever you want. And it's a sad thing that man would go get others, even the heathens and the Gentiles, to support that wrong, because in them, they need that support. They need that justification. They need that clarification. They need that identification. Even if they have to put everybody else's money up to fulfill that which is in them. And the Father said it ain't going to work. You can go get 20 priests, 1 million men to agree with you. And the Father say they going to all be under unrighteous. So it ain't going to bring nothing but a heavy burden of guilt and conviction. It's going to be heavy upon your chest. So you ain't going to run from it. So you can go and pay everybody that you want to justify and clarify. Sister Deborah's coming to tell you a prophet is in the wilderness. It's over. I'm slamming the door on polygamy. And everybody that has performed it, your best bet is to repent and turn. Repent is a feeling of guilt, conviction from the inside out. And if you don't feel that thing, you keep it up. That means that thing don't feel you. If you don't feel that thing, that means that thing don't feel you. It could care less. Come on, let's take you to the lake of fire right here and now. So it don't matter. Okay, so he want me to take you to Matthew's verse 24 and 38. In Matthew's 24 and 38, but you all need to go over Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 and 5, and you'll see. This is the sin and iniquity and wickedness of men selling their daughters off. And the sons that came down of Yah got tangled up in it. And that's how they went into the daughters of wicked and evil. And they began to produce mighty men. Okay? It has nothing to do with giants, you guys. That's the sad thing. They get the bad part of it. Okay, when you get to Matthew's chapter 24, in Matthew's chapter 24 and 38, it reads, "For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating, drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage." Y'all have to understand what marrying and giving in marriage in those days were. Exactly what you see in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, 2, and 3. That's what they were doing. Who was being given and who was marrying? Babies, young girls, some women, their daughters, been given to men for the sexual pleasure. Okay? And the Father wants you to know that. That's why you see sex trafficking so heavy in this world today. And it's been here. But men has hid it and hid it. This country, United States, is the leader of sex trafficking all over the world. And it has been hidden. And the men that calls themselves representing Yah, they want you to think We can do it. It's just that we got to make it a name for it. We got to call it something. And we got to stay in between our dominion and our world. And we can still do it. Y'all ain't going for it. Because it came out of his order in Genesis. The perfect will. One man, one woman, coming one in him. Okay. And when he said, and let no man put you as under, that means they cannot bust this tradition, this perfect will of Yah. They cannot barrier that. And I like that because he's actually telling you exactly what Yeshua came on the scene saying. Have you not read in the beginning? That wasn't so. He made her and him to be one. And that telling you right now, polygamy ain't never been accepted by Yah. Because he said, let no man put you as under. I didn't create Deborah wise for Adam. My way was the perfect way. Man, one woman being two, bringing them into one. Where man has women today is not where I have them. That's why Isaiah 3 and the whole chapter is going to clean up my women. Y'all coming home with me. Okay. So when we go into Matthew's, it tells you to say, Matthew's 24 and 38. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating, drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage. See, people are giving their daughters and selling these daughters. Men are kidnapping girls and selling them to Iran and Iraq and all over the world. From the United States, they all hooked up to it. Until the day that Noah entered into the ark. That means, Deborah, you can teach it, you can preach it with all fullness of the light, with all fullness of spirit and truth, but it ain't going to stop. They're going to be doing it all the way up until the Son of Man come. They ain't going to give up off of it. They ain't going to come up off of it. This is what one can see the tare from the wheat, the righteous from the unrighteous. Who's walking in what, you see? So I like that, Father Yah, because you saying in Matthew's through Yeshua, it's going to be like the days of Noah. You're warning them that the days of Noah was an ugly time period. Where the creator decided to end it. What was going on that interfered with you, Father, and put on you that you had to end it? Sex trafficking. Little girls born to men was taken advantage of. And even from Genesis, when they came out of the order, that's what men been doing with women and their daughters, selling them like crap, like they animals. Never bringing to them, their families, the light of Yah. Never revealing to their daughters and sons the things which are spiritual. They brought to their sons and their daughters the traditions of their flesh ways. And that's why it's easy for men today to take on polygamy as something to be acceptable. It's because they lost it then. And it's lost today. But I, Sister Deborah, not a dead prophet, but a living prophet, come to tell you, that which was in the dark shall come to the light in the last days to show you've been walking in darkness all the time. Okay. Now, we covered that. We're going to go to Luke. In the chapter of Luke, verse 17, chapter 17. In the chapter of Luke, chapter 17 of Luke, verse 26. And it reads, and as it was given in the days of Noah, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. The Father here is Luke explaining it just as Yeshua explained it in Matthew's. And you can go to Mark, all of them explaining it in their own ways, but it's coming on one accord to Genesis chapter 6, what caused the Father to destroy the world. And it had to do with sex perverted, fornication, adultery, child molestation, men taking their daughters and selling them off to other men. This was a man thing. So if you say this is a man world, yes, it always been, because a man took you out of the righteous will of the Father. They always took you out of the righteous will. And I like how the Father today, I look at it now and I see the beauty in it for women. They can wake up now. They can come to the light. They can see that, wait a minute. You mean we've been following a man's world that was following Satan's world? Satan come to deceive the whole world. And man been following the deception of Satan. And we've been following man? Hold up. Let me get into this book. Study and tarry for the Ruach HaKodesh to come to indulge himself in me and be a teacher to me, to lead me, to guide me. Okay, in Luke chapter 17, in verse 26. In Luke chapter 17 and verse 26, it reads, and as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. The Father wants you to understand. You are bent up and you're bent down. Women, especially you. You don't have to go to this extent and believe in everything or believe in anything these men are saying. They have gotten out of the righteous will of the Father a long time ago. He never intended it to be him. He intended to be them. That was the perfect will. When sin came on the scene, man decided to take the word rule and belittle a woman down to the lowest sum. When a higher started it with the perfect will of it being them and not just him. But he made it about him, even to today. These men has caused men to do away with their wives, their children, their mothers, their aunts, their sisters, and has caused them to love each other in the way that will and have brought Sodom and Gomorrah. That's why he said it's going to be like the days of Noah. And then he took on, Yeshua said, and it's going to be like the days of Sodom and Gomorrah. He's still speaking of the men. Because in the days of Noah, it was about the men having these daughters. What was they doing with them? It was about, in Sodom and Gomorrah, what was these men doing to the other men? It was about the men. And women, you missed it. This is Sister Deborah bringing light to darkness. And I say unto you, every last one of you at the sound of my voice should be putting money towards Sister Deborah's GoFundMe. Because Sister Deborah is slamming the door on polygamy and any other wickedness that you decided to follow therein. Now, I'm going to stand down on this topic after this part 2. I'm not going to go into this topic. I'm not going to be asking questions and justifying this, because men has lived in this darkness for so long. The Father come to tell you today, that which in the dark shall come to the light in the last days. And we are in that last hour running up on minutes. And if you think for 1 minute that the Father ain't going to fulfill that, you's a lie from the pit of hell already. And you always been. Okay. So in Luke chapter 17, verse 26, and as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the Son of Man. So when we run into Revelation, stop. You can't go over into Revelation. First, you got to understand what was going on in Noah. I don't want to hear about the ark. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear about Noah and his sons and his wife. Furthermore, he didn't have wives, nor did his sons. They all had one. See, how you don't have to add on the population by the choice of men. It's his power and his will that bring forth life. You see? And not the authority of a man's flesh choice to say, I rule. I'm going to bring these children forth for Yah. You can't bring nothing forth for Yah. You can get your pleasure on and Yah can do the rest, but you ain't bringing nothing forth but your ugly, wicked sin. Okay. In Luke chapter 17 and 26, you have to be able to go back and say, okay, Father, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't understand. Go back into Genesis chapter 1. No matter Genesis chapter 6. Genesis chapter 6. And you see what Luke chapter 17 and 26 is telling you, the sons of man. These things are going to be going on, Deborah, all the way up into the sons of man. You know how Noah took all them years to build that ark? They were doing all of that, and every imagination in their thoughts were wicked and evil. Well, that's where we at today, y'all. Every imagination in the minds of men are wicked and evil. That's why it's easy for them to put women under their feet. It's easy for them to kill their daughters of Zion. It's easy for them to kill their mothers, their sisters, their daughters, their children, their sons. It's easy to look for them to look to their left where their brother at and take his life. It's easy for them to look to their right where their brother at and take his life. It's easy for them to justify the lust of their flesh and clarify the lust of their flesh and identify the lust of their flesh and call it righteous in Yah. It's easy. Because Ahiah prophesied even through Yeshua that these things will be like the days of Noah all the way up into the sons of man. The sons of man is going to represent the ark when it start raining. And the people, Noah was saved and the people drowned. That's what the son of man. He's letting Sister Deborah know, the one that walks in the light. It's going to be like that. And you want me to tell you where the comfort come in at? Let me show you what the comfort, how he is. He's showing me, Deborah, you can teach this thing in righteousness. You can teach this thing in just. You can teach it in the heaviness of all the light. But guess what? It's not going to change the prophecy. That's what's beautiful about it. So Sister Deborah can speak the way she can speak because I'm speaking righteousness in spirit and truth. I'm speaking as the light, you see, and not of the flesh of a man or flesh of a woman. He said they will be ever learning, never coming to the knowledge of what I'm speaking of. Revelation chapter 10 and verse 7 says, when that seventh trumpet blows, the mystery of the Father is finished. And that has, the seventh angel already blew. The mystery is already finished. The Father already told me at 2 years. Now, I've been saying it on this platform for 2 years. How you say he's finished. And he said anything that you receive is going to be received from his servants, the prophets. So when we want to erase the prophets and put the pastors, the smorine, the seers, and the watchmen, all of them up on pedestals and make them something above the one that Ahiah has elected to be the mystery, to carry the mystery on unto the people. The mystery is carrying light to be revealed unto those that sits in darkness. Okay. Now in Luke chapter 17, he's telling you the sons of man is going to come and take away that which belonged to him. Okay. So that's exactly how Noah was taking away that which Ahiah saved. So is the son of man. But he's letting Sister Deborah know right here, even as I speak and as I teach this, that they're going to continue to do what you just telling them in the light. You giving them the light as bright as it can be, but they're going to still rest in darkness. So that's comfort to me, to let me know that it's all right. You still in your right lane. It ain't taking you out of that lane I called you in. You still in your right lane. And furthermore, you're still running the race, speaking spirit and truth. Okay. Now, when you go to Luke chapter 17, verse 27, they did eat. They drank. It's not that's what they're doing. They want to call feasts. They want to call days of feast because that's the only way they can manipulate you to believe that they're doing something that represents Yah back in Torah. They ain't representing Yah because if there's no spirit and truth and no light in what you're speaking, a feast ain't going to help you. And I like here because it's telling you they doing all these things, Deborah, to cover up their darkness and their wickedness. All the way up until, hallelujah. Let me give you some glory on that, Father. All the way until the Son of Man comes. That's beautiful. That is so much comfort to just know that. In Luke chapter 17, verse 26, now we're down to 27. They did eat, Deborah. They did drink, Deborah. And don't think that he's talking about eating just like the norm. He's talking about gluttony, preparing feasts and trying to represent feasts and bring it into a holy a matrimony, or not a holy something that has nothing to do with him. And then he said they drink. He ain't saying drunk. He ain't saying they drunk. He's just saying, Deborah, they would bring all kind of strong drinks to the temple. This where you know that they don't represent me, because you don't do that in spirit and truth. You don't do that in the light. You don't bring wives to your body. and I reside therein. And I got to put up with you having sexual desires of many wives. After I know I orchestrated one man and one woman to come into one. That's my perfect will. All this mess that you bring into you, that's your flesh will. That's your flesh desire. That's your flesh lust. That's your flesh want. That has nothing to do with the creation that I created in the perfect will of a man and a woman coming into one unity in marriage. Okay? So he said they're going to be drinking, Deborah. They're going to be married wives. Look here, wives. He's letting you know it ain't going to be no limit to it. They're going to be having sex with so many women and calling them they his wives. Women going to be having sex with so many men. And they're going to be just marrying. It has to let you know. The Father is showing you where a lot of sex is going to be taking place. Abomination. Adultery. Fornication. And giving in marriage. Giving, like somebody giving a man a child. Giving a man, a woman, his daughter. Just like they did in the days of Noah. Giving their daughters away. Selling them off. The Father knew what he was saying. When Yeshua come up to back it up and back it down, they don't want a accord. Everything that Yeshua came to say to fulfill, let me tell you, the Father had already nailed it, and Yeshua had just nailed the nail all the way through the wall. And those that walked in spirit and truth in the light. So it says, and they married wives and were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and the flood came to destroy them all. See, they're going to be doing that. He said, no matter what you say, Deborah, you can speak spirit and truth. You can bring light to the darkness, but it's not going to cause the darkness to get any brighter because it's going to be identical to the days of Noah. And if we missed Genesis chapter 1 and 2, the perfect will of the Father, and we missed Genesis chapter 6, the reason why Ahiah destroyed, we missed everything because we deny that which is plainly seen before us so that we can continue in our flesh desires. Okay. And he's saying that until they are destroyed. So while men running around here thinking that it's okay to have many wives until they can get their lust on, because that's all it is. Because when you understand every individual has a flesh and they have a spirit, I will never want to have someone flesh under my subjection. You know why? You know why? Because flesh does not represent Yah. You see? So I don't want that part of an individual don't represent Yah under my subjection. I want them to be subjected to the Most High Ahiah first and foremost. That they can get their flesh under subjection. And then I marry her because she had put Ahiah first and brought me in second. You see? Now I know that I got a woman of the Most High Ahiah. We can be one in this. And any desire that a man needs from a woman and a woman needs from a man, guess what? When you go into the perfect will of the Father, becoming one, Ahiah work that thing out. Because you came under his perfect marriage, his biblical marriage. And when you come up under that, then the Father will work everything out because you did what? He put Father first and you put Father first. And now y'all one in the Father. To where now y'all can walk therein and men can teach their children how to put Father first. Because he put Father first, she put Father first. We're walking in one in the Father. And now all our seeds, we got to teach them how to put Father first. But these men run out, these women this, these women that, and they leave all their bloodlines behind and run chase after another man telling them to get them another woman. And Ahiah ain't going to deal with that. He ain't going to handle that. He going to let you walk the ways of a flesh of a man. And he's not going to let you find no spirit and truth. No rest in your flesh. Now, you're going to find the pleasure in your flesh, but you ain't going to find no rest. See, a lot of people didn't know what the 7 day really stood for. It's a place of rest. You see, and the only way you're going to get that rest is in the spiritual realm. That's why Sister Deborah say that, and I shall rest therein. Even though I'm in the wilderness, I shall rest therein. Rest in what? The higher power that exists in the bosom of my Father. I shall rest therein. No matter what goes on, I shall rest therein. Okay. So when we get to 28, it says, it's giving us a clip of what today is going to be. And tell me it's not today or not. They running around here, fornication, adultery, whoring, selling their daughters off in marriage, giving their daughters away. There are people who are kidnapping daughters and giving them away for sexual tools. Y'all didn't know how big it is. It's been big for years in the United States. China took on organs trafficking, and they were doing sex trafficking, but they was making so much through the organ trafficking, they let the United States take on the sex trafficking because the United States started to get in it, and they were doing so well, the United States took on it. That's why you find a lot of heathens and European men falling under these little bitty girls and these little bitty boys. Okay. And United States has taken that same, they have took it over that for many years. So sex trafficking been going on for a mighty long time. And the Father said they're going to continue all the way up until the Son of Man comes. And he says in verse 28, Luke 17 and verse 28, and likewise also it was in the days of Lot. Or not we in the days of Lot. Or not we are in the days of Lot. You go to Isaiah chapter 3, he tells you right there how Judah and the tribe Israel and the tribe of Judah has fallen. And they become like Sodom and Gomorrah. It tells you that. These men ain't going to teach this man that. That's why these men can be in these groups and you thinking these mighty men, muscle bound, got many wives and they practicing homosexual in their mindset and in their action, desiring one another. And they don't even know that one is right next to you, might be desiring you. Why? Because this is all the things that has escaped in the flesh of man. Since you want to make this a man world, or how you say you have made it a man world that's detached to Satan deceiving the whole world. So how you like it now? How you like it now? So what is happening, they didn't understand that, nor do they, nor will they, and it's okay. Because higher is the beginning to the end and everything in between. He already knew. Okay. So we thinking we bringing things to the table. We think we bringing things to the forefront. Let me tell you something. Heavens has already been there, done that, and seen it. And it is finished. Okay. So in verse 28, it says, likewise also as it is in the days of Lot. They did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, and they built. You see? Letting you know that that's what they're going to be doing today, Deborah. They're going to be covering all their wickedness up with planning things, building things, buying and selling. They're going to cover it up with eating, drinking, marrying and giving in marriage. And they're going to be in that homosexual stuff too. So he's locking Lot up identical to the days of who? Noah. He wanting you to understand they are the same. He's just trying to bring you into the order of why he ended the world. And you all want to make him a lie so you can go on and live a lie in this day and time. And we in the midnight hour time finna close out. But yet we want a higher to be a lie so we can continue what we're doing in this dark and evil days. So the Father, when he's putting Luke out there, 17, 26, 27, 28, he's letting you know. When you get these camps, you get these churches, you get these sanctuaries, you get these groups of people who like to pull people into cults and like to pull Jim Jones and pretend they unlike it. The Father said it's no different than Jim Jones. Matter of fact, it's worse because they're leading more people astray into the darkness, and it's and the media and all of that is partaker in it, and he don't have no problem. Why? Because heaven's seen it already. Okay, so he wanted you to know that he's locking. The Father want me to say to you in Luke chapter 17, verse 26, 27, 28, he's locking it in. He's locking it in as one, like the days of Noah, and it's going to be like the days of Lot in this day we are in. And is it not? Yes, it is. Sex trafficking, selling their daughters. If you hear the story of these men that tells you how their fathers, their grandfathers, their uncles, their brothers, their cousin, male men, has caused them to not even trust in their own manhood. And if you hear the cries of men older than I am, tell you what has been going on for years, your women would wake up and realize, so it really didn't have nothing to do with us. No, but because we were connected to shutting our mouth toward righteousness, then that's why the children, the women, the females, and the babies lost their lives in the book of Lot, in the times of Lot. He destroyed all of them. In the days of Noah, women, babies, everything was destroyed because of what the men were doing. And you never looked at what the men were doing with their daughters and see, well, wait a minute, this didn't have nothing to do with women. This was what the men were. No, they don't want you to see that. That's why they want your mouth closed. That's why they want, and you need to have your mouth closed. Because when you've been walking under the flesh of a man, you need to shut your mouth and keep it shut. Okay? And never open it up. Because you've been living a lie all your life. And that's what you can only stand for. Okay? Now, Sister Deborah is almost done. I'm going to go up into 2 hours. But I'm going to step into this thing the way the Spirit has given it to me. Now I'm going to go into a realm. Unlike, and that's this here thing here is showing you a man, woman, a higher created that they made. And when he saw man by himself, he said that wasn't good. Now you got to think the Creator saw everything to be good. But when he saw man by himself, the only thing that can be good about a man is for him to have a woman, not woman's, but a woman. That's what if a higher thought it was not good for man to be alone. And wait a minute, I need to not only give him one woman, I need to give him some wives. He would have did so. But in his perfect will of a marriage of a woman and a man, in the eyes of Yah, he only gave him one. And he caused the one and one to become one. So these two become one. Anything that was added come from the flesh of man. And you all women live that lie all the way up until today. So the Father wants me to share with you. Let me go there. Let me go to the main one. Let's go to Romans chapter 8. In Romans chapter 8 and verse 4 through 5. The Father wants you to now step in to what Sister Deborah has been saying. I've been saying it for quite some time now. We must separate the things we do in the flesh from the things we do in the spirit. And you know what's something that's really heavy on me? And this keeps saying, keep expounding on the GoFundMe. Sister Deborah is bringing so much heaviness to the light. What these messages are saying on this part 1 of slamming the door on polygamy and part 2, slam the door on polygamy. The Father is saying to my spirit, you not only slam the door on polygamy, you're opening the eyes of the blind. You're allowing the light to shine therein. You're allowing them to get something that has never been gotten because I have suffered you and brought it unto you to bring it to them. They want to support all the flesh of a man. They want to support all the flesh of a woman. This is the time where the GoFundMe should be sky high with the messages in which Ahia has suffered Sister Deborah to bring forth. He keep putting on my heart as I'm speaking because he knows that I'm not a materialistic type of person. He knows that money don't move me, don't groove me. He knows that. And he wants me to expound on that because that is what's going to keep this page up. Because too much spirit and truth is in this part 1 and part 2. And he's saying you're getting too much spiritual food to not support his prophetess. So I, Sister Deborah, want to continue in Romans chapter 8, verse 4 and 5. Wow. I'm going to have to come this route. Like I said, see here, I pulled it off a line. All these verses, it's many a pages, but what the Father is saying to me, I need you to pull out. Why? Because he's saying that people on Google and everything you pull off a line, don't take it at its face value. You got to go into the book and read it and let the Ruach show you what's what. Because the way they got it sit here, he can show you here. but you're talking to an audience that's out here. So he needs me to go to Romans chapter 8, verse 4 and 5. Okay. In Romans chapter 8, verse 4 and 5, the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us. Remember, Sister Deborah was telling you David, Solomon, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Abraham, and others. They have the brand of righteousness, faith, belief, and fear already in them before they got down here. Okay. But does that stop them from sinning? No. But they don't give sin dominion over them. They might sin and turn back to Yah. These men today, they ain't looked at Yah. They ain't turning to Yah. They making gods out of themselves. Okay. So in Romans chapter 8 and verse 4 and 5, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the spirit. So this is what Sister Deborah is saying, slamming the door on polygamy. The Father wants you to understand polygamy is of the flesh. Okay. Polygamy has no spiritual connection, none whatsoever. We cannot line the things we do in the flesh as righteous and just. We got to call it what it is. Anything is of the flesh that we do in the flesh is for the flesh. Anything we do in the spirit is for the spirit. Okay. But the things of the spirit is righteous. Okay. And that's what it's pretty much telling you. Please hold on. I'm sorry. Hello. I'm online. Hello. No, what is it?
What's that address?
Here? Okay, you can pick it up for me.
It doesn't matter. I wasn't sure how you wanted to do it.
Okay, I can text it to you. Okay. Can you give me what? A few minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. In Romans chapter 8, verse 4 and 5, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us. I want you all to understand there's two laws. Okay, there's two righteous. You can be self-righteous in your flesh, and you can be righteous in the spirit. There's a law in the spirit, and there's a law in the flesh. Which law do you fall under? See, that's what a lot of men didn't teach these men. They didn't teach them to be separate. The fine line is righteous here and righteous is in the flesh. You cannot take the righteous will of your flesh and make it the righteous will of a higher. It got to stay in what you have created in your flesh. Where sin abide. Where iniquity stands. Where evil is conducted in the flesh. Now listen to this. And it says that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us who walk not after the flesh, but after the spirit. See, the righteousness of a higher rests in the spiritual end. So we can't take that which man get pleasure in the flesh and make it righteousness in the spirit. Keep flesh on the line of flesh and spirit on the line of spirit. Don't get these men and women bent in the midnight hour as we in to walk according to your ways. But it's okay, the Father say, if that's the way you want to do it and you have done it, because we are in that day. We're in that hour, running up on the minutes. So if you taught these men that and you find justification, clarification, it has identified based on heathens and Gentiles telling you that it's right, he said you're going to walk in that and keep it going. Now in verse 5 it says, for they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the spirit, the things of the spirit. So this tells us that if we do things in the spirit realm, we're going to walk into the righteousness realm. But if we do things in the flesh and see righteous in the flesh of what we're doing that gives us pleasure in the flesh, then we walk, therefore, in the flesh. As you know, many of you all might not know, is that none of it brings pleasure to one another. The Spirit is not here to give you what you want in your flesh to please your flesh. It's not going to give you those things. Even though you all want those things and you want people to see those things as you want to see these things and you want to get pleasure in these things, then you go right ahead. But don't lead the multitude, because the multitude is full of the light. And I want to take out a few minutes to take care of something that's very important. Okay, let me do that right quick and I'll get right back with you. And I'm sorry, I'd like to apologize. I have to take care of this right quick because he's doing me. He's blessing me a great deal with doing this. Okay. And I appreciate your patience. I really appreciate your patience. I appreciate your patience. Okay. Now, I'm sorry, but let's take off on to Romans chapter 4, verse 5, Romans chapter 8. Let's take off from Romans chapter 8. I don't have much time, but I'm going to clear up this here, right here and now. In Romans chapter 8, verse 4 and 5, the Father is sending something to you all out there that has the light and walks in spirit and truth. It says that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us. In us. So a lot of people don't know there's a righteous that rests within our spirit. And there's a self-righteous in our flesh. Those are two different righteous. One is righteousness to its sin. And the spiritual righteousness is righteousness in the eyes of Yah. The perfect righteousness. The other righteousness is righteousness in a man's eyes. You know, in Proverbs 16 and verse 2, where it says, in the eyes of a man is clean in his own eyes. He's showing you that a man is clean in his own eyes to the point where his flesh is all good. It's all righteous. I like that. Proverbs 16, verse 2. Read it. He said, by Deborah, I come up on the spirit and see many of spirits in them that does not represent my spirit. So he's letting you know evil plays a big role in chapter 16 of Proverbs, verse 2. In the eyes of a man, it's right, it's clean. That means righteous, upright. It's all clean in his flesh eyes. But I measure the spirits. The reason why he measures the spirits, why you thinking your flesh is all clean in your flesh eyes, your flesh wisdom, your flesh knowledge, your flesh understanding, your flesh interpretation, your fleshly moves, your fleshly feelings. It's all good in your eyes, in your flesh. But I know that there's something added on to that, and that is in your spirit. You got many spirits attached to it. And I come to measure those spirits that you got attached to the ways of your flesh. Praise the mighty Yah. Y'all need to go check that out. Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 2. Okay? So he's saying in Romans chapter 8 verse 4, he's saying that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us. Walk not after the flesh. Polygamy is of the flesh. Now, let's say polygamy represents Yah. How does it represent Yah? What in it glorifies your Father? What in polygamy identifies the Most High or higher? What is in polygamy that gives praise to the Most High or higher? What is in polygamy that put a higher on the highest pedestal? What is in polygamy that can call out righteousness in the eyes of the Most High or higher? Polygamy is an act of the flesh of man. Let's give a praise to that. Polygamy has time past been an act of the flesh of man. Always been an act of the flesh of man. All these wives is the flesh of man. You cannot take the flesh of man and put it side by side by the spirit of my Father. They have nothing in common. And never did he create the flesh of man's desires to match up with my Father's will as a righteous thing. We didn't lie on the Father. We have deceived the mass for all these thousands of years and have the audacity to think he's coming back for us with this wicked mindset. Now, also in Romans chapter 8, verse 5, for they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh. Polygamy is after the flesh. And it minds the things of the flesh. We can have as many wives as we please. We can put them under our feet. We can make them dress like this, walk like this, talk like this. We can cause them to wrap their head. We can have them to lay down on their back, raise these children, take care of the house, do this, out of the order of Ahiah's perfect will in the beginning. Because nothing was left to her. He did not separate the mission of the woman from the mission of the father, from the mission of the man. Ahiah saw them in one mission, as one. Today, these Negroes here has put her below their feet. And they have set their dumb tails down there and gave glory and honor to an idol god. And where they at is where they will remain all the way up until the Son of Man come. And if they're found under the feet of a man, then that's where their idol god. Because truth will knock every ball down that's in its way. No man on this earth have the will nor the power and the authority to put a woman that low under his feet to the point where they are schooling men to participate in what Ahiah say not to do. Thou shalt not murder. But what did they do in the land of their milk and honey? They murdered. They shed blood. That's what the Father told in Ezekiel. Let me tell you what they did. That's what he said to Ezekiel. In Ezekiel 36. Oh, no, y'all don't want to hear that. That's what they're doing today. The men are filling these young men and these old heads, just like they're doing with Lot. Sexual, homosexual, child sex, porno, sexual expression, sexual desires. We got to put them in all those categories and keep them under our feet. Because if they ever come up and see truth, then we can't be the kings and leader in which we're portraying we are. You can't be that in the land of captivity, period. Tell me, where can a person be in captivity and being a king and being a leader and a ruler? They need to find their darn tails a place under the Ruach HaKodesh. But where they have placed themselves, they'll never find the Father. He said they've gone too far out in the deep sea. So in Romans chapter 8, verse 5, for they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh. And polygamy is of the flesh. It does not give a higher glory. Polygamy cannot praise Yah. Polygamy cannot honor Yah. Polygamy cannot worship Yah. Polygamy is of the flesh. It is not of the spirit. It has no place in the heavens. It is of the flesh and desire and the will of man. So we need to stop trying to make it a righteous will of the Father when it's an unrighteous. It cannot stand side by side in spirit and truth. But they that are after the spirit, the things of the spirit. See, the men are so after the flesh, Ahia has allowed them to have their own idol god, which is another man, to lead and guide them. And silly women follow behind them. Later, the Father said, was sin. They don't understand the days of Noah was when these daughters' mothers never said a word. And the daughters didn't have the chance to fight back out of this wicked and evil of their fathers. But they all died with the wickedness of their men. Lot, even though the women were not practicing what the men were practicing, homosexual, they all died with them. So don't estimate. Don't you dare estimate. He ain't going to take your tails out of here following the flesh of a man. And he's already revealed, and I learned something just speaking to you all. I learned that it is so powerful what he's saying to me. He's saying, see, didn't I tell you? You can teach this and preach this all you want, but you can see in the way it's going. And that's the comforter. He comes to show me you on the right track. You always ran in your lane. But I want you to see they're going to be doing this all the way up until the Son of Man comes. That's why I told you, don't get bent. Don't get bent. Stay up straight. You're called for this position. You're appointed and anointed. They want to walk in darkness, let them walk. But you're still in the race. So continue to speak spirit and truth. Continue to shine the light on all this wicked darkness. So I like Romans chapter 8 and verse 5. It says, for they are after the flesh, do mind the things of the flesh. This is why the men will put up money to battle and to debate this book. This book does not hold spirit and truth, y'all. This book is not the light. The one that holds spirit and truth in the light comes to break this book down in you so you can see. These men can't see it because they deceived so many men and took so many men money and funds, took so many men away from their wives and their children. It's no way they're going to turn back. It's no way. It's no way these men going to turn back. They too far deep in. How many years have I told y'all that? They went too far out in the deep. They ain't going to turn back. They are not going to turn back. And they ain't going to go nowhere near. They're going to be out there drowning. And he said, unto the days of Noah. Okay, now let's go to the next verse. Woo, he done me up. Oh, let me go to Galatians. In Galatians chapter 5. Let's go there. I'm almost done, you all. Galatians chapter 5. It's so important to really sit down, get you a drink, something to eat on, and just hear what Sister Deborah is saying. What's going to happen if you're about the most high or higher, that light going to shine in you. If you're about the most high or higher, you're going to let that spirit and truth revealed in you. And let everybody else fall to the wayside. Because he said, they ain't going to stop, Deborah. It's going to be like the days, these things going to come right up. They're going to be always like that until the Son of Man come. He's saying that nothing you're going to say or do going to change them. Now, those that are elect, those that's in the light, that haven't had the fullness, they light going to brighten in what you said. Those that's walking in darkness, they're going to climb on top of you, try to get some money put up to debate and confuse and confound and disagree. And it's nothing they can say in their flesh that can chop down spirit and truth. The light has revealed you up and down and all around. Okay, so Galatians chapter 5. Galatians chapter 5 and verse 16. Don't let me have to take these two verses, these two messages, message 1 and message part 1 and message part 2 and run this thing for the whole year. Over and over and over. Keep repeating it. Keep bringing it up. Not bringing it up, but keep listening until enough people see in this darkness. Matter of fact, the Father is telling me you don't have to do that. He said he's been speaking since the beginning of time, and they can't even grip that I only created him and her to become one. Not him and other men, not him and other women, but her and him was supposed to make my perfect will. Anything outside of that, Deborah, is man-made. Okay? Man desire, man flesh, man lust. Okay? We're in Galatians chapter 5, and we're going to go to verse 16. And in verse 16, it reads, this I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. See, if they were people walking in the spirit, the last thing will be on their mind is polygamy. The last thing will be on their mind other wives. The last thing will be on their mind other men. The last thing will be on the woman's mind will be other men. And the last thing will be on a man that's homosexual, other men. If they walking in the spirit. And that's what the Father is really giving you all right now today. It's the idea that he sent his prophet to tell you all there's a big difference and a big space between spirit and flesh. And did not I ask you all in December of 2022, look in the mirror and say, which side am I on? I still say that unto you. Okay. In Galatians chapter 5, verse 16, it reads, this I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. You won't be worried about wives. You won't be worried about other husbands. If you're walking in the spirit. Now watch this here. Verse 17. For the flesh lusted after the spirit, against the spirit. The flesh lusted against the spirit. Okay? And the spirit against the flesh. So how can you take polygamy that gives the flesh of man its pleasure and its desire and its will and buckle it up into spirit and truth? With the spirit. Come on now, women. Y'all got to do better than that. Come on now. Y'all got to do better than that. And a lot of them will ban you from even listening to this video. Because there's too much spirit and truth in it. It's too much light being brought out in such a midnight hour. Okay. Now in verse 17, it says, for the flesh lusteth against the spirit and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary to one another, so that they cannot do things that ye would. This is why you can't do things spiritual, because the flesh wants what it wants. It wants its desire. It wants its pleasure. It wants its order. It wants its will. And the spirit ain't going to tolerate the flesh and its ways. It won't even tolerate trying to worship the Father in its flesh. Because the Father already know in the spiritual realm, flesh can't worship me. Praise the mighty Yah. So all this game plan that they have set you all up from the floor up, I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all got yourself messed up. Okay. So in verse, he's sitting here telling you in verse 17, Galatians chapter 5, verse 17, for the flesh lusts against the spirit and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary one to another, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. Verse, see that? He telling you they against each other. So that's why you can't make polygamy righteous. You can't make it just. You got to leave it under where it stank. Your flesh. Your worstest enemy. Leave that polygamy amongst your worstest enemy, which is your flesh. And stop trying to bring it over into some type of righteousness in the spirit of my Father. Because he can't stand nowhere near it. Okay? Verse 18, Galatians chapter 5, verse 18. But if ye be led of the spirit, ye are not under the law of that flesh. So you don't go by what the flesh do and what the flesh say if you're led by the spirit. You're led by the spirit and you walk in the spirit thereof. Verse 19, Galatians chapter 5 and verse 19. Now the works of the flesh are manifested. And it tells you these are some of them. Adultery, fornication, uncleanliness, lasciviousness, adultery, where idling, witchcraft, hatred. That's what you see in the men today. These men are using the pulpit to teach men how to hate women. And it's called a perpetual hate, the Father said. That's why in Isaiah 3, he tells you Judah has fallen. You mean not Israel? Nope, Deborah. I said Judah has fallen. You mean like unto Babylon has fallen? Yes. I know it. Men ain't going to take you there. They ain't going to let you see into Isaiah chapter 3. They ain't going to dare let you see it. They ain't going to dare let you see the ugliness of you men in Ezekiel 36. They ain't going to show you how Ahijah been speaking to you men. And you have rejected spirit and truth, the light, ever since the beginning of time. Okay? So, we're going to now go to Galatians. We're going to stick with Galatians chapter 5. We're going to stay there. And we're going to go to verse 22. Galatians chapter 5, verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, and gentleness, and goodness, and faith. I like that faith because I already know that's one of the brands of the Most High Ahijah. Okay? Wait a minute. No. I'm supposed to be in Galatians chapter 5, verse 24. I'm sorry. Galatians chapter 5, verse 24. And it reads, and they that are Christ have crucified the flesh. Now listen to what he said. See, because in Genesis, man didn't know who us was. And they made us who they want to make them in the flesh. They didn't know who us was in the spirit. Us in the spirit was Hamashiach. It was the word called Christ. It was the beloved, the only begotten. Okay? It was the Father's right hand and his power. That's who us is. And because you didn't know who that is, you wouldn't understand what I'm about to say. And this is in Galatians chapter 5, verse 24. And they that are the Christ, which is the power, have crucified the flesh with the affections and the lust. What does that mean? That means Hamashiach is the only way, because it is the power of Yah that can crucify all these sexual desires, porno, lust, sexual fornication, adultery, all of that. The power of Hamashiach can crucify that flesh and cut all that out. But because you didn't know who Amaziah was, in Genesis 1 and verse 26, when he said us, you still lost without a cause. So when I see Christ, I see the power of Father's hand. So right here in Galatians chapter 5 and verse 24, I don't see like you see. I see strictly spirit and truth and the light. And it says, Galatians chapter 5 and verse 24, for they that are in the power has crucified. The power is homasiach. It has crucified what? The flesh and all its sexual perverted ways. The only way it can be defeated is through Christ, which is his homasiach, the power of Ahijah's right hand. Praise the mighty Yah. Praise the mighty Yah. So this shows you how far man is from spirit and truth. This is how far they are. Christ has always been the power that brings Yeshua's blood into you. And then it turned around and brings the spirit of Yah into you. And y'all become one. His power did that. The Father's right hand power. It is homasiach. It is that right hand and that stretched out arm that's in this Bible a good 300 times that man never taught y'all. Because you wanted the flesh to be your God. So the flesh taught you for thousands of years and 400 years. Okay, even to today. So now we're going to go to Galatians. We covered that. He's telling you the flesh can be defeated by Christ, which is homasiach. And that's that power. See, you didn't know that, did you? Okay, let's go to Galatians chapter 6 and verse 7 and 8. In Galatians chapter 6, verse 7 and 8, it reads, be not deceived, because you have allowed man to deceive you. You have allowed man to be your idol God. And you reject the Ruach HaKodesh that you were to tarry for and wait till he come and indulge himself and teach you from that time on. Instead, you desire the idol God, which is man. So he let you be up under man. That's what you wanted. He gave you what you wanted. And it says in Galatians chapter 6 and verse 7 and 8, be not deceived, Ahijah is not mocked, and whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he reap. What you sow in your flesh, you're going to reap in your flesh. What you sow in the spirit, you're going to reap in your spirit. So when he tell you to build up treasures for the heavens on the earth, and you building up treasures for your flesh, So Sister Deborah is not a money type person, but even as I quoted that, it made me remember again to tell you, this here is where the GoFundMe should be booming on Sister Deborah's page. Much spirit and truth, much food for your spirit to bypass the light that has been shown to you clearly, to where there's no way that you would not support the GoFundMe, because Ahijah has suffered his servant to give you light in the midst of darkness. Now, in Galatians chapter 6 and verse 7, chapter 6 of Galatians, verse 7, be not deceived, for Ahijah is not marked. For whosoever a man soweth, so shall he reap. You sow it in the flesh, you reap in the flesh. You sow it in the spirit, you reap in the spirit. So you can't take polygamy, where you sow into polygamy for your flesh, and call it the righteous will of the Father. It has to be reaped in the flesh. Your flesh is sinful, wicked, and evil. So don't go trying to put that mess up on my Father. Don't go trying to line him up. He's a spirit. You can't line him up as the flesh of a man and say he had many wives. Men that says that, y'all, let me tell you something. Anytime a man tell you that the Father had multi-wives, and you all didn't grab your balls and tell him a thing or two, you're weaker than weak. You're weaker than weak. Because any man try to match your father in the heavens, which we know is a spirit, that doesn't have wives, but man tried to force you. No, he didn't force you. He easily spoke it. That the Father in heaven is sexual active, fornication and adultery, like unto the men on the earth, by calling him out like a man onto the earth. Y'all have no match for what is righteous. Any demonic spirit speaks of that. Any demonic spirits go into their sanctuary and announce virgins. Those are people who are like unto Genesis chapter 6, when the men had daughters and they were selling them off. Come get them, y'all. We got them. You don't get on this devil platform unless you represent the devil and announce to the world, I got virgins over here. So many men, if y'all want a virgin, come get them. And these ignorant men and these sick men cannot see that. Y'all sicker than sick. You are of the devil. Okay. Now, I want you to see, where am I at? In Galatians. Okay. And then we get to verse 8. He wants you to hear this in verse 8. Galatians chapter 6, verse 8. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. If you sow into your flesh, now this here slams the door on polygamy. If you reap, now watch this here, verse 8. Galatians chapter 6, verse 8. For he that soweth into his flesh shall flesh reap corruption. So if you feel that having many wives to this flesh, you're going to reap corruption. That's the example of what each and every last one of you, go read what happened to David's family. Go read what happened to Jacob. You don't have to read it. You in the land of your captivity for 400 years. That's Jacob's children. Never being, and the father calling them stiff-necked, rebellion, and disobedience. Tell me what good came out of them. But Ahiah sat and orchestrated and made sure that he gets a portion out. He called it a small remnant. But he made sure he take a portion out of the house of Israel and the tribe of Judah. And he didn't take them out because they was all that and some. He took them out because heavens has already orchestrated who's who and what's what. And he going to clean them up. But if you think he's going to clean you up in the midst of your polygamy and you're sitting here teaching people that it's righteous, this is the life to go, this is the way, and this is what Ahiah stands for, and he's married to many wives. Woo, that's fire kindle under your feet. Okay, so here he's saying in Galatians chapter 6, for he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the spirit shall his spirit reap what? Everlasting life. Life everlasting. This is the difference between what you want for your flesh and what your spirit desire. Two total different things. So don't take what you desire in your flesh and try to line it up to my Father's spiritual power. He said you can speak that to those that are weak. Silly women lie with sin, and weak men to the point of weak on the earth. They cannot seek ye the kingdom of Yah first and wait on the Ruach to indulge them with the true teaching tool. But they want the flesh of a man to be their God. Okay. So, okay, now, okay, listen to this. And, I don't know what verse that is. I'm not going to tackle it because I don't know what verse it's coming from. Oh, that's Romans. Romans chapter 8 and 13. I'm going to read it from the way that this here Bible verses want to place it, but I think they put it under a new version or ESV Bible. And it says, Romans chapter 8. Let me go on there because the Father wants me to stick to what he taught me so much through it all. Romans chapter 8, verse 13. And it reads, for if ye live after the flesh, ye shall die. But if ye through the Spirit do modify the deeds of the body, ye shall live. He's just letting you know. Get that doing nasty, stinky flesh under the subjection to what is spirit. Tame that flesh. Let the flesh know the difference between flesh and spirit. And the things that pleasures the flesh has no dominion over those things which is in the spirit. Nor do they have anything in common. So separate that mess. Separate that mess. And stop trying to make the things of your flesh righteous. It is unrighteous. Okay? Okay. So I'm going to get off of that. And I'm going to tell y'all, I don't know if y'all know this or not. I got so many I got a good 40 more verses. But the Father wants me to cut into, I done went into my time. He wants me to go on to this here. And then I'm done. And this here that he's given me, it's, okay, I cut into that one already. Oh, did I? Wait a minute. Let me see. Okay, he wants me to go to Romans chapter 8. Romans chapter 8 and verse 14. I want you to understand how Genesis chapter 6 has been a lie for quite a long time. You remember when Satan came around the Father was in the midst of the sons of Yah. People don't understand because if the Father in heaven has not taught you through his spirit, not through the mouth of a man, not through the mouth of a woman, but if a Father has not taught you one-on-one through his spirit what took place before the foundation of the world, you're missing a lot. That's why I say don't tarry for or desire Sister Deborah and no man. Tarry for the Ruach HaKodesh to come to indulge himself in you and be the teacher that he said he would be. Okay, so in Romans chapter 8, okay, in verse 14, when you go into Genesis chapter 6, it talks about the sons of Yah. They lied to you all. The sons of Yah are not fallen angels. These are angels that was missioned to do the will of the Father. But when they came down on here, what did they come down on? Satan had already deceived the world. So therefore, if Satan deceived the world, what part of them would Satan deceive? Their flesh. So Satan deceived the flesh of the sons of men. When you go up in Genesis chapter 6. And they saw what the men were doing with their daughters. And they decided to do exactly what they saw the men doing. Okay. And Ahia said, okay, I got to end this. It's going too deep. They messing with babies, Deborah. They doing all kind of things. And when he showed me it in the spiritual realm, y'all, it's ugly. And it's exactly what you see now. A man, his wife, and polygamy. Same thing. No limit. And that's what the Father say. Deborah, they totally out of control. Even their thoughts of their imagination. In Genesis chapter 6 and 5. It's wicked continually. So they went way overboard. As always, just like Solomon and Gomorrah. The Lot. Same thing. And you can find it in Judge. It's the same thing. And no man wants to own up to it. They don't want to own up to nothing that's spirit and truth. I look at Deuteronomy 28 and I'm sitting here saying to the Father, why is it they ain't gripping this, Father? He said they ain't going to. Because they not under spirit and truth. They don't have the light. So they cannot see what you see. They cannot hear what you hear. Didn't you see what I did with Yeshua? He taught the multitude, which is thousands, parables. Because seeing they couldn't see, hearing they couldn't hear. He knew that. He only taught the word, which is spirit and truth, to the 12. Wow, that's powerful, ain't it? So if you think it's changed today from yesterday, Ahia still rumble the same. That's why you cannot take his perfect will in Genesis 1 and 2 and making woman and man one and not making man having all of them submissive to him And he's not submissive to anybody, but he wants to be the king, ruler, and controller of all of them. To fulfill his flesh desire to be a king, a ruler, a leader, and have those submitted under him. Father don't have no problem when women want to follow under a man that they idling like a god. Because Ahia ain't told no woman that. Okay? So he wanted me to take you to Romans chapter 8, verse 14. And in Romans chapter 8, verse 14, it says, for as many are led by the spirit of Ahia, they are the sons of Yah. Do y'all get that? Genesis chapter 6. This is why I say they lied to y'all all these years. In Genesis chapter 6 and verse 2. That the sons of Yah saw the daughters of men, meaning what it's saying, the sin and wickedness, the lust and the sexual perversion of what men were doing with their daughters. That they were fair. They wanted to let you know that they were fair. They were young. Okay? And they took them wives as all which they chose. Because men were selling their daughters off like that. For sexual desires. That's why I go on and tell you they went into them. Now, but you got to see where it says in Genesis chapter 6, verse 2, that the sons of Yah, understand who the sons of Yah. Let's back that thing up again. You go into Romans chapter 8 and verse 14. For as many as led by the spirit of Yah, they are the sons of Yah. Same thing with Job. Ahia was dealing with the sons of Yah, and Satan came in the midst. Both times in Job. The sons of Yah represents angels that come down here to do the will of the Father. But you keep forgetting what they come down here on. Satan had already deceived the world. So when they come down here, Ahia says, what, Deborah? They just not spirit, they flesh too. And they took on what they saw men doing in the flesh. Giving away their daughters for the little of this. Even if they were young age. And they was taking them and doing as they please because man was showing them this is the way to do it. This is how we've been doing it since sin hit. We done took it out of the order of the Father. And woman has kept quiet when he had called you to the charge with them. And that's why you died. When he destroyed him. Because he's letting you know in the beginning, it was them. And when you stand around and let him do him, and you all are them, when I tell you what, when I come, I destroy all of you. Okay, that's it. So the Father here in Romans chapter 8 and verse 14, letting you see that those that are led by the Spirit of Yah, they are the sons of Yah. And that's what was going on in Genesis. And that's why he said, I got to destroy this thing, Deborah. Because the sons of Yah, the ones that I sent to represent me, they got detached to what the flesh of man was doing in their ways. And I'm not going to strive with them always. Because they flesh too, Deborah. So I'm going to leave them right where they at. I'm going to end all this mess. It's too much of it. He said all their imaginations is going the wicked way. I got to take it out. And it was ways of a man, y'all, that caused the Father to destroy the whole earth. The daughters didn't have any choice because man has been living the lie that the women are now under his feet. They're like cattle. They're like money. They're like funds. They sell them off. Y'all didn't stop it. Because if y'all wanted to stop it, them from selling their daughters off, and y'all wanted to stop polygamy, and y'all wanted to stop David from lusting and killing this man, if y'all wanted to stop Jacob, and y'all wanted to stop anything that any one of them did, he would have froze it in Genesis chapter 2. When it came down to Genesis 3, before the tree of knowledge and good, he would have froze it there. Praise the mighty Yah. Praise the mighty Yah. See, Ahia didn't stop even Adam from entertaining Satan. Just like he didn't stop Cain from killing Abel. He didn't stop David for murdering and taking a man's wife, committing adultery and lust. He didn't stop Abraham for laying down with Hagar after he done just told him, I'm going to bring you forth in the vision, in holy. I sealed you with righteousness. He goes straight out of the vision, goes straight into the flesh of another woman. You see? Jacob, drunk as a skunk, going straight into Leah. Leah, conniving, pretending, covered up, laid down, and hides anything righteous in that. Y'all better wake y'all doing tails up. Ain't no righteous in that. Ain't no just in that. But because Ahiah knew the beginning to the end, you can't say cold is cold without hot. You can't say up is up without down. You can't say light, the light, if there's no darkness. You call it what it is based on what it is from what it ain't. So you cannot take righteous and say it is unrighteous. And you can't take unrighteous and say it is righteous. Ahiah split that stuff up. Okay? Into spirit and flesh. Okay? Okay, so here he said in Romans chapter 8 and verse 14, circle that. There go sons of Yah. Okay, when you get to Luke chapter 20, I'm just going to show you where the sons of Yah, and they are not what they lied to you about and told you it's fallen angels. Satan. They sick. Luke chapter 20 and verse 34. Wait a minute. Luke chapter 20 and verse 34 and 35. And it reads, and Yeshua answered and said unto them, the children of the world marry and are given in marriage. Who? Hold up, Yeshua. No, you didn't go there. Wait a minute, Yeshua. No, you did not go there. Let's go over that. And Yeshua answered and said unto them, the children of the world marry and given in marriage, but they which shall be accounted worldly to obtain that world and the resurrection from the dead. Let's get it together. Neither marrying nor given in marriage. And what else? Is that another verse? Verse 36. Neither can they die anymore, for they are equal unto the angels and the children of Yah, being the children of the resurrection. That's telling you these are the sons of Yah. It's telling you what took place in Genesis chapter 6, people. That these daughters was marrying and given in marriage. But they which shall be accounted worldly to obtain that world and the resurrection from the dead, neither marry nor are given in marriage. See, they don't understand what he's saying in the New Testament when he said they're going to be married and given in marriage, because that's worldly. That's of the flesh. That's of wickedness. That's why it lines up with the days of Noah. That's why it lines up with the days of Lot. But we want to make it something else. But the ones that's lining up for the sons of Yah, the children of Yah, they are not connected to that nonsense. In these last days, they're going to get out. They're going to escape like Noah. So let these men go on and play their game. Build they heavens on this earth. And manipulate these men. Let them go right ahead. Okay? I'm going to give you, I got so many of them, y'all. I'm not going to give you a lot of them. Let's go to, now we know in Job, when the sons of Yah came present, therefore, before Ahiah, Satan also came among them. See, it's letting you know the difference between the sons of Yah versus Satan. It should have been the sons of Satan, the sons of the evil. But it's letting you know Satan will always try to creep in through the sons of Yah, like he did in the days of Noah in chapter 6. See, and see, that's what y'all don't get. Y'all just don't get it. Y'all just don't get it. Satan is always coming in when the sons of Yah present. And that's how the sons of Yah got caught up with the men and the daughters of men. They were wicked. Okay? Okay, let's go to Chronicles. In Chronicles chapter 1, verse 28. I want to see what that says. And I'm going to make that my last one. I'm going to make that my last one. First Chronicles chapter 28. I'm going to make this my last verse. 28 and verse 6. 28 and verse 6. Now, I wasn't able to read this, but I copied it. First Chronicles chapter 28 and verse 6. What does it say? And he said unto me, Solomon, thy son, he shall build my house and my courts, for I have chosen him to be my son. This is Ahiah. He's saying this to David. He has chosen Solomon to be his son. The sons of Yah belongs to Yah. I don't care how many wives Solomon had. That was his flesh. Solomon never gave up on Ahiah, even though the flesh followed many women of a fake belief. Why couldn't Solomon follow them to the fullness? Because Ahiah had to teach you what took place before the foundation of the world. Solomon is the seed that came down of a woman all the way down to Joseph. That seed is a spiritual seed that crushed the serpent's plans, which is in the serpent's head. Came all the way down. Then the ultimate one was Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach. Crushed it to destroy it. And the Satan could not get victory anymore. Satan couldn't come after the seeds that Ahiah bring down anymore. Because the Messiah came in and destroyed his total plan to see to it that we all go to damnation where he's going to head. Okay. Now here in Chronicles 1, chapter 28 and verse 6, it says, and he said unto me, Solomon, thy son, he's telling this to David, he shall build my house and my courts, for I have chosen him to be my son, and I will be his father. This is the Father in heaven. He has took on Solomon to continue the spiritual bloodline to Joseph and to the Messiah. They didn't have the natural bloodline. It was the spiritual bloodline. They got victory every time the serpent went after them. It didn't matter. They had the spiritual bloodline that had faith, righteous, belief, and fear. Satan couldn't touch that, no matter what his plan were and how he got Solomon to do this and do that. Why is that? Today it's different. Then Ahiah branded them for his name's sake. Ahiah's elects are branded for his name's sake. Okay? Today, he called you stiff-necked, rebellion, and disobedient. Whoremongers. Like your forefathers. So he lead me to understand these people that we see, the tribe of Judah, is like unto the stiff-necked, rebellion, and disobedient fathers. But there are fathers that's branded for my name's sake. I have children, Deborah, that's branded like unto them. You see? See how Ahiah rule? Even when man wants to satisfy his flesh and be an idol god to man, Ahiah step over the boundaries and let you know you don't rule nothing. Heavens is already orchestrated and rooted from A to Z. Praise the mighty Yah. And I like how he's telling David, the solemn, because Solomon had to continue. While we're looking at the flesh, that's why men couldn't get out of their flesh when Isaiah chapter 4 and verse 1, where it says 7 women to 1 man. They couldn't get out of their flesh. They're actually thinking that they're going to have 7 wives. And they're not understanding the whole overall in spirit and truth. This is information that's showing you, men, you're dying. Isaiah 3 and 25, letting you know I'm going to take y'all lives. And you don't get it. Many don't even get the dry bones. I'm going to have to cover that too. They don't get it because the dry bones fall under a spiritual message. The Proverbs 31 woman fall under a spiritual message. But you notice that one woman was holding her own. That one woman was holding her own. Where did she get the strength? The Father is telling you, mine's going to hold their own. Because I'm going to hold them. And they going to hold their own. So a lot of times, even when we look at Proverbs 31, we look at it as a female. See, that's the weakness of our men today. That's these cults and these Jim Jones camps. They don't understand spirit and truth. They don't understand the light. So they sit in darkness and crank up their belief and their understanding out of their own flesh. They ain't going to cross the boundaries over in spirit and truth or over in the light because the light has not been ushered to them. Spirit and truth has not been given to them. So they teach what they teach in darkness and cause many to follow the broad gate and to walk in darkness. And men desire the darkness better than they do the light. So the Father said, I'll tell you what, how you like me now? Stay in darkness. We in the end days. We in that last hour. Okay. So I wanted to just share with you that the sons of Yah is not fallen angels. It's not the giants. I don't know where that mess coming from. And I don't know what other book y'all detaching to and what you making to be right in your own eyes. You can continue to do that. Ahia is not supporting you in that. So Ahia wants you to know through the prophetess in the wilderness, you can go on your way. You can make whatever you want. Slamming the door on polygamy and anything of the flesh. Sister Deborah has covered. This is to give those that's walking in the light, desiring the light, the desire and the thirst for spirit and truth. The desire to walk in the presence of the Father. So that you know that, okay, I get what this sister is saying. I don't want to walk in this type of darkness. I didn't understand it, but I understand it now. And only those that are higher has opened up the brightness of their light that they may see in the midst of the darkness that has been taught for thousands of years. And it's a sad thing because many people on this devil platform been teaching these things and never touched the hem of his garment. The reason why they weren't able to touch the hem of his garment is because he had not made them whole. He have not shined light on them. He have not taught them spirit and truth. But Sister Deborah been taught for a mighty long time. And I'm going to tell you what I got out of this, all of this. I learned that my brethrens in time past that were prophets and why they lost their lives. Because it's that potent. It's that deep. Man would kill you to keep you from speaking spirit and truth. Even those that are in your own nation. And that's what they did to the prophets. They destroyed them. Israel and Judah destroyed the prophets. And now one of these women or men that say that they so righteous and upright would identify with that. They would not even be able to comprehend that you mean the prophets that came down for a higher was murdered by Israel and Judah? Yes, they were. Now, to me, speaking this message, giving the ability through the Ruach HaKodesh to bring forth to you so much light, it brings to me to a level of understanding this is how our prophets died, bringing light to darkness. And those that sat in darkness fought to keep the light from shining. So I, Sister Deborah, say unto you, I pray to you that you understand it's time to slam the door on polygamy. If you heard part 1 and part 2 of Slamming the Door on Polygamy, this should give you the fullness. And I say again, I have poured out in these 2 videos so much information in the light. And if you desire, or if a higher put on your heart to support the GoFundMe on this page, it's giving thanks for the light and the drink that thou thirst for. So I, Sister Deborah, say unto you, shalom and shalom.